Hey, everybody, welcome to Love and Reload, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am extremely blessed, honored, excited, thrilled. I'm feeling all the feels right now. I've got one of my good friends and people I look up to in this business here with me today, Patricia Tavares. She's the co-founder of Brazil Talks. She is the country director of K2 Corporate Mobility, and my friend here today. How are you doing, Patricia?
I'm fine, Ben, and I love being here with you. But the most important thing here was the last thing you said, my friend. That's what we
Yes.
are. Yeah.
Yes. I do. You've been such a great friend and mentor to me. I think it was Fernando Donadon. Shout out to Fernando, because I think that he was the one that said, you have to meet Patricia Tavares. And I was like, okay, I like meeting people. Who's Patricia? He's like, oh no, if you're gonna talk about South America, if you're gonna talk about Brazil, if you're gonna do anything down there, it was almost like I had to come ask permission. It was like I had to kiss the queen's ring. I had to come down there. I had to approach Patricia and ask, and I was like, okay, all right, I'm up for this. Let's do this. And I met you, and you've been so amazing to me. You've been so warm and welcoming. You've had me on your amazing show. Your community that you've built down there is second to none in this business. And it's just an honor to call you a friend, really. I admire you so much.
Yeah, I admire you too also. And I learned so much with you this last year also, Ben. So I think we're together here. We're teaching and learning together, which is the important thing, right? So walking hand in hand.
Yeah, no, seriously, there's so few people that I feel like I can really have these kind of conversations that we've had the pleasure of having over the last year, and being kind of together on this journey together simultaneously. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about mentorship and what that means about mentoring the next generation of people in this business. And we're going to talk about your new gig. You've got a new job too. We're going to
I
talk all about
do.
that.
Yeah.
Hopefully introduce people to Brazil Talks and other things that you're doing down there. I'm not going to say it yet. But before we get into this, I want people to check in here on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook. Hit that like button right now. That lets everybody know that we are live. Go ahead and let me know where in the world you're watching from. I want your comments as well for Patricia. I'd love to hear your questions for her as well. Let's see who we've got checking in here. I hope we got
I have
some
to say that one
Brazil.
of the things that I love doing, oh, Fernando, I have to say
Yeah.
that one of the things I love doing is answering questions. So please do
Yes.
ask questions.
Yes.
Hi,
Please do.
Fernando. The queen is in the house. You guys
Yes,
drive
that
me
is
crazy.
you. That is you. It is
No.
true. I didn't know Brazil was a monarchy, but then I found out there was actually a queen in Brazil, and so no, seriously, with all admiration and respect. Janet Turner says both of you are looking fantastic today. Thank you, Janet.
Thanks, Janet.
Very kind. I didn't put any product in my hair today. I'm feeling very vulnerable right now. But
No, I can't do that. I always have to fix up my face. After a certain age, you have to put some things on so that you look good.
oh
I
my
can't
gosh,
just come
this
on
is great.
natural.
Oh my gosh, this is great. Ben Sukia, hola Patricia. Oh, tudo bem? Nice to
Tudo
see you
bem,
both.
Ben. Tudo
Tudo
bem.
bem.
Ben speaks a little bit of
Yeah.
Portuguese. Yeah. He's
Nice to
great.
see
Nice
you.
to see you.
Yeah, that's great. Congrats on the new role, he says. This is
Thank you.
wonderful. We're going to get into that. I want to hear all about that because we haven't actually had a conversation about this yet, and I'm
No,
really excited.
no, because the last time we spoke about it, I couldn't say it yet. It hadn't been announced yet, remember?
I
And you were
know you were.
trying to nudge and trying to
I
get
know.
it,
I
and I
was.
couldn't
I was
say
like,
anything.
give me a hint. Give me a hint.
Yeah.
Give me a hint.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah. Seriously, this is great. This is great. We're going to
Yeah.
talk all about it. Shan Norman. Hello, Patricia.
Hello. So nice to see everybody. I actually logged in here also to see who's here. And Yola's here. I love Yola. Nice to
Hit,
see you.
hit that like button. And also, if you're logged in, Patricia, you can share this as well,
Mhm.
on your feed too, which is always helpful. Let's see here. Janet's saying she likes the studio setup. Thank you. It's a fancy. I got a fancy mic set up here. I don't know if it sounds different if I move it away like that or not, but who knows. Thank you, Janet. I appreciate my flowers. Pro tip: those flowers are actually kind of dead back there, so don't say anything. Yes, completely agree with you, Ben. Patricia is a true leader. Yes, for sure. That's so cool. Valerie, hi, Patricia. Hi, Ben. Deluxe checking in. Welcome, Valerie from Houston. Janice says, I have lots of friends at K2. I'm so excited they have Patricia now in the family. All right, we just got to hop right into it. Patricia, you have a new job. Tell us what you're doing.
I do. So I'll tell you a little bit how it started, actually. So I went to Dallas in a conference in 2019, and I had a conversation with Phil Hunt, which is the managing director in the US for K2. And he said, why not? A challenge, a good thing for you. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. This is just over a glass of wine. Sure. Oh, okay. This is not going to work
And this is
out.
when you were still at you were still at Unilever. You were
I was still
on the
Unilever,
corporate
yeah.
side.
Yeah, but we were just talking and everything. And he asked me, how long are you going to stay? What's going to happen? What are you planning? And I was like, oh, I plan retiring in about a year or two because I've been working for almost 40 years. It's time for me to stop and this, and that. And he was like, yeah, maybe new challenges would be good for you. Have you ever thought of working on the other side? We're here. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. This is what wine does, right?
This is wine. It's the wine talking.
It's the wine talking. Yeah, exactly. And so 2019, way back there, right? ERC in Boston. We meet again and we start talking again. And I was fixed on my idea. No, I'm going to work until the end of 2020 and I'm going to retire. That's it. That's my plan because I didn't even have Brazil talks or anything, right? So I was like, let's live life. And then 2020 arrived and shocked us, right? And what are we going to do now? So we actually created Brazil Talks, and from Brazil Talks, we created Latam Talks, which I'm going to talk later, right? Because first the focus now is K2.
And we're going to talk about that too, because I have lots of questions around how that got started. Okay, but go ahead.
Okay, so we started with Brazil Talks and with Latam Talks, and so I said, you know what? This is really the time for me to stop because I have to focus on Latam Talks and Brazil Talks. So yes, I am going to retire by the end of the year. And when I announced that I was retiring, K2 waited for a little bit, obviously, and then they came and contacted me and said, well, you remember that conversation over the glass of wine? It's still here. What do you think? And I'm like, I think I might accept it because after all, doing just Brazil Talks and Latam Talks is driving me crazy because I don't work enough. So not that I'm a workaholic. Far away from that.
But in 2020, I mean, you were already like, I didn't know you back then, so I'm just gonna guess. But you were already like one of the most respected global mobility professionals in all of South America, definitely Brazil. You had experience and assignments in the U.S. And we can kind of get into maybe your history and stuff with Unilever. Mm-hmm. But you were already at that echelon, and then when you did Brazil
I won in December. I have to say, I won in December the most admired practitioner in Latin America from Benivo.
Well, I could have told you that. Congratulations on. But that's. So then all of 2020, as everybody was at home and quarantining and social distancing and freaking out and trying to figure out what's going on, you built this amazing community. I want to know more about that too. I want to know. I'm all over the place. I'm sorry, Patricia, but I want to know, how did that start? How did Brazil Talks start?
So Brazil Talks started because we had a group, a community here in Brazil where we would get together every 2 or 3 months and we would have an event, right? So that we could do networking. We could I always try to be inclusive, right? So I always thought, let's not do only the corporate side. So the corporate side, yes, there are 2 or 3 groups in Sao Paulo and in Rio that are only for corporates where you share best practices and you have meetings and this and that. But I wanted to do something inclusive, and I wanted to do something where you can bring in the suppliers with the corporates, right? So I was with the FEM. And we started working we started bringing the FEM down to Brazil, but I didn't have independence. Everything I had to do, nothing against the FEM, please don't take it that way. I love it. And they started me out on this. But I didn't have any independence. Everything I had to report to them. I had to ask them if I could do it. Can I do this? Can I do that? And it wasn't possible, right? Because they have tons of chapter leads. They don't have only Brazil. So they didn't have time for us as much as we expected them to give us. And when the pandemic began, we were going to have a chapter that week, right? And they had to go back and say, no, we can't do this anymore. What are we going to do? And so people started coming to me and saying, what's going to happen? We need to get together. We're too far away because of this work from home and being everybody on home office. What are we going to do? We don't see anybody else. We need to start doing something. And the idea just started brewing up. I had a steering committee that worked with me. We spoke and we discussed. And do you think, shall we do it? It's a challenge. Yes, no, yes, no, yes. And we started.
I love the hand gestures too, because it's so real, right? Like that's probably
Right.
the gesture.
So Italian, how can I talk without my hands? I can't, right? So we started it out, but we didn't know where it was going to reach, right?
And
So
what time frame? What time frame was this as well? Like when was the FEM thing going on, and when was the
the
saying,
FEM
hey,
was
we want to do
supposed to
Brazil
happen.
talks?
The FEM was supposed to happen on the 19th of March. It didn't happen, obviously. So we started discussing this on the next week, and on the 13th of April, we launched our first Brazil Talks webinar. So in less than a month, we put it together. Wow. And it wasn't me, okay? I have an amazing group that worked with me in the steering committee. Everybody put their minds to work. Each one did one little part and everything, and we just put it out on the show. We put the show up in 1 week. We started with 5 days, half an hour. Each day we spoke about one different topic of global mobility, and we said, okay, now let's see what's going to happen. And people started loving it and asking us for more and more and more, and we started doing more and more and more. And then when I saw it, it was enormous. It really became big. I work with Vanessa. Vanessa is my co-founder on Brazil Talks, and we together we complement each other because I'm a baby boomer, zero tech. Okay. She loves technology.
I love it.
She does everything she can do with technology. And I just say, Vanessa, I think if we do it, she comes up with it. Right. So
aren't those the best partnerships too? Because you bring like experience, perspective, relationship. She brings this technology forward thing. I mean, I'm just assuming, but I mean, different skill sets, right? Different
skill sets that complement each other and that are necessary. Right. So we do that. So we worked last year with a steering committee. This year we have a new steering committee because we like to change and bring in new ideas, fresh ideas and everything. But we really love it. And it's growing and growing. And it grew so much that we actually had to put together Latam Talks because Latam is Spanish speaking. Brazil is Portuguese speaking. Right. So people couldn't join No, they can join, but they wouldn't understand everything that we were saying in Brazil Talks. So the request came for us to do Latam Talks. And we started doing Latam Talks in Spanish. And we did one session last year to test it. It was a success. And this year we have started Latam Talks once a month. So we're doing Brazil Talks once a month and Latam Talks once a month. And I absolutely love it.
This is incredible. I want to know more about this. I see people checking in here. If you've watched Brazil Talks, been on Brazil Talks, or if you watch Latam Talks, I'd like your in your own words in the comments, if you would just leave a comment. I'd like to hear your thoughts on why it's been such an effective platform. I'm really curious. I love to study these things. You've really built community. You've built a community of engaged participators, ambassadors, people who are so involved. And I'd love to hear from people. I see, Julio checking in. I see Janaína checking in. I see Fernando checking in. I see a bunch of people. I'd love to know why you think Brazil Talks and Latam Talks has really caught fire, so well there. I'd love to know that. So you started Brazil Talks in 2020 in, you said, I think it was April, right?
Yep.
And then can you describe for people that haven't done it yet? First of all, how can they find it? How can they get involved? And what is the format? Describe it for people that haven't seen it, please.
Okay, so we have a site, www.braziltalks.com. You can find everything there. The site is actually already half in Portuguese, half in Spanish. We're working on
English.
Not yet. We're working on it, but we are going to put it in English because we do have international webinars, right? We do have events with people that are speaking in English. So we are going to put it in English, but we do have to take a step at a time. We can't do it all together because you need to do it with quality. So you need to make sure what you're translating, that what you're putting there and everything. On the site, you have all the webinars of everything that happened. You have the recording. We have an Instagram also, Brazil Talks also. You can just join it. And we have a LinkedIn page. where you can also join and go there and like and everything. So you have on the pages, you always have our agenda of what's happening in the next few months, what are the next events. You also see on the site who is our steering committee in Brazil, who is the steering committee in Latin America, Latam, so that you can have contact with these people and you can reach out to them also, not only to me or to Vanessa, to understand more how Brazil Talks works. We also offered this year different things because we offered super sessions. So super sessions are sessions that are sponsored by a vendor or a corporate, whoever wants to sponsor it, with specific themes. And you can either limit the participation to a certain group of people if you want to talk about something specific, or you can do like Alto Vita did with us, where it was open to introduce Alto Vita into Latam so that people would get to know Alto Vita a little bit better. So two different
and
purposes. Right?
if I may just give you a testimonial on that, because Alto Vita did participate. I was a part of that as well. And I have to tell you, first of all, great engagement. We did 2 sessions, right? It was great engagement. People asked a lot of questions. People really engaged, unlike most webinars, which are kind of, one-way information. It was super engaging. We got to, you could see people's faces, which is also cool. Like that's one of the things I miss about this, right? You can, you can't see people's faces. I can see their comments. So you can see people's faces, read body language. They ask questions. And I'll tell you, afterwards, we got probably three new client leads out of that. I'll just be honest, right? I mean, it was incredibly effective.
Yeah, it is. And that's the idea of the super session, right? The idea of the webinar is to be informative, to help, to share information. We ask what are the themes that you want to see on the webinar so we can get the best people and the best speakers to be there and give you the best information. But it's different from the super session, right? It's 2 different objectives and 2 different purposes. So, yeah. And one of the objectives that we have is linking our community as one community with vendors, with suppliers, with corporates, and with people that love global mobility and want to be part, but don't effectively work with global mobility today, right? They might work sometime, they might have worked, but they don't want to lose contact. So that's really the objective. Share knowledge.
They could be students as well. Janaina says, Brazil Talks is about connecting our community and bringing knowledge, is pure inspiration.
Yeah, she's part of my steering committee this year. That's why she's a part of our inspiration.
Janaina is incredible. She's amazing.
She's amazing.
Janaina, would you do us a favor? Patricia enumerated quite a few Instagram, LinkedIn page, website. Would you go ahead and put those in the comments so people can just have those links there? That'd be super great. And anybody that's watching, if you have a favorite Brazil Talks episode or Latam Talk or anything, throw a link in there. This is all about sharing and collaborating. So throw that in there. Rigoberto says, hola, Pati. Good to see you at LOVE+RELO.
Good to see you also, Rigo. Rigo's on our table at Latam on the Alto Vita Summit. Yep.
This is great.
Yeah.
Kathy saying, hi, Patricia and Ben. Patricia, you're doing amazing work. Thank you for filling a void.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. That's nice to hear.
Isn't that nice? I love these comments. Keep these comments, these questions coming. We actually have some questions too. So I want to do you feel like taking some questions, Patricia?
Sure. I said it in the beginning. Shoot away the questions. I love answering.
Roberta says, hello, Ben and Patricia. I'm here.
Hi, ho.
The party can start. All right. Let's see here. Let's see. We got good questions. We've got good questions. Oh, where do I want to start? The hard part is always curating these in a way that actually makes sense in a linear fashion. We have a question from one of the users there. I think this is Sandeepta, I think. When can we get an opportunity to hear in English these talks about industry?
The ones that are on Brazil Talks?
I assume.
Yeah. So Ben actually told me that if you go on Instagram and you ask to put it on English, you can hear it in English, right? I'll be very honest. Yeah. I'll ask Ben to answer because I've never done it. But he told me it is possible, Sandeepta, to do that.
Yeah. So what I did was, because I was, was like really intrigued by this, and I wanted to see what Patricia was doing. And so I would go onto YouTube and I would hit closed caption, and you can choose the language of the caption. And I was reading it in English, which was super helpful. So I'm drinking my caipirinha. I'm watching, you know, the YouTube. I mean, my cafezinho. I mean, you know, and I'm
The
watching the
caipirinha
YouTube.
is better.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah. There's a little hack for you there. You can do that as well. We got another question here. Janet says, "Will Patricia continue her role in Brazil talks during her new role at K2?"
Oh, yes, Janet, it was a must. I have to continue Brazil talks and Latam talks. If I can, I will join. If I can't, I won't join. And K2 was amazing as they are. They really are. I really am in love with K2 and the way they work and the way they treat their staff and everything. And they said, no, Brazil talks is your priority. We understand that. So yes, you can continue doing Brazil talks and Latam talks and Love and Relo. That's why I'm here at 5 p.m.
Hey, nice, nice. Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it. No, but you know, that's awesome because a lot of times you know, companies. So a lot of times companies don't support. You know, frankly, they don't support the activity. I mean, did you have
I think you have to be
any issue,
transparent, right? You have to let them know in the beginning. Don't just start
or
doing
the
it in the
complete
middle.
opposite?
Yeah, right. Yeah. You
Like
know,
I,
okay, I get it. I get it. But you have to let them know that you're doing it because there are some companies that don't let you go on shows, that don't let you share what's happening. And there are, it's not one or two, there are lots of companies, right? And I remember on the other time I was on the show, you even told me nobody is as transparent as you are. And I said, well, that's me. You want me? It's being transparent because that's how I
yeah.
am.
No, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's cool that you really obviously found a fit. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Tim, they're talking about snow in New York. People are in New York. People are in Mumbai. This is amazing. I love it. We
I think
never
that's
have
Mumbai.
good.
I think is Sandipta. She's one of my young talents that I mentor.
Oh my gosh,
If
that's
it
so
is Sandipta,
fantastic.
yeah. In Mumbai.
I
Yep.
love it.
We
We
found a
never
talent.
have, we never have, you know, people from India here. This is fantastic. Let's see. Yola saying, "Hello, Patricia. So glad to see you with Ben." Oh, this is great. Wonderful.
Love
Lots
you
of love.
too. That's
Lots of
nice, Yola.
love. Olivia Bakrami, hello, Ben and Patricia. Looking forward to your talk today. That's awesome. Janet, yeah, you're going to have to help us here. Janet says, we've been trying to get Phil on the Love and Relo show for a long time. Where's Phil Hunt these days?
Let me see. Let me see what I can do. I'll try to help.
Please. Listen, if Patricia, you know, if anybody can do it, Patricia can do it. You are an amazing connector. You have connected so many people, including me. I feel like I have so many friends in the continent. As in Brazil, I mean, Fernando's one. Fernando's got a great question. He says, "What's going to be your role at K2? Is it Brazil? Is it Latam? Help us understand."
Yeah. So we're opening the Brazil office to serve in this moment Brazil because there are many things that are happening in Brazil. I hate to have to say and admit this, but Brazil is a very complicated country for you to work in, tax wise, currency wise, and all the different things that we have here with safety and security and everything. So you really have to understand the country that you're working in. The idea is to be at this moment, Fernando, Brazil director, right? But obviously, we're not going to throw away my knowledge in Latam. So I will be helping and supporting Latam also with whatever they need, with either with suppliers or with ideas or with contacts, like Ben said, or whatever they need. They know they can come to me, and I'll be here for them also.
Yeah, that's great. And Fernando, I'm surprised you're even here, Fernando, because last time you were on the show, the caipirinhas were flowing. We were doing a little Brazil trivia, and he was losing, and he was. I'm surprised he could even write caipirinha after that, because I mean, he really was in a bad way there. No, but anyway, we love Fernando. That's a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what you do there at K2. Janet's got a question. Patricia, in regards to Brazil talks and Latam talks, did you get resistance from corporate and suppliers coming together? You had mentioned before there was a kind of a corporate roundtable that was going on, but in creating a community and an ecosystem where everybody came together, was there some skepticism around that or hesitancy?
A little bit, yes, in the beginning, and unfortunately from the corporate side, right? So I think it's part of the corporate mindset that when you are a corporate, you're a corporate. And I have to have the vendors coming after me, right? I hate saying that, and it's something that I never did, which is one of the reasons why I get along with so many people, because I've always received every single, or I won't say every single, but most of the vendors that came to me, I would always find some time to listen to them, see what they have, and then go back to them and say, look, I'm sorry, I worked through an RMC. You have to go to the RMC. But I did give the person a chance at least, right? So unfortunately, there are many corporates that don't do that, Janet, and there was a little bit of resistance. But when they see how much you actually win and gain in this environment where the networking is happening on both sides and with interest from both sides, they stopped with all the resistance. I mean, it was like, do we have, and like we have people that come to us today and say, I know you're on Brazil Talks. Can you help me find a vendor that does this or that? Or can you refer somebody to me? Or, even the other way around. So now everybody understands the importance of us being together. And we are one community. We're not two different communities. We need each other. One doesn't do anything without the other. So we have to be one community. And I'm glad that they're understanding that. Yeah.
That's a great point. That's an excellent point. Thank you for making that point as well. Can you talk a little bit about your corporate mobility experience on the corporate side? Can you just give
on the corporate
some background?
side? Sure. Yeah. So I've actually been within HR and corporate and global mobility 20 plus years. Okay. And so not doing specifically global mobility only from 2012 to now. Right. But always having contact with global mobility. Even when I worked for HSBC here in Brazil, I was one of the few people that was hired because I spoke English and because they needed people that spoke English to work with their expats and everything. So ever since in contact, right? 20 years at HSBC, 5 years at Unilever, a lot of experience. I like working with all these. Part of my purpose actually in life is knowledge sharing. And not only my knowledge, right? So everybody's knowledge. And that's what I like doing. I like bringing people together and I like sharing what I taught you there and what I learned from you here. And now let's put it together and get something out better. And I think the corporate experience really helped, but the partnership with vendors also is part of it. So we have to be together and we have to be there. 20 plus years experience, I think.
Was all that experience in Brazil?
No, I was here. I'm actually what you call in the intercultural language a TCK, which is a third culture kid, because my father used to work for United Nations and I was brought up out of Brazil. So I left Brazil when I was 4 months and I came back when I was 16.
Oh, wow.
And then I studied my whole life in American schools.
So where did you grow up though, like originally?
So 5 years in Africa, in Ghana. 5 years in Rome, 3 years in Uruguay, 3 years in Chile, in Santiago de Chile. Yeah, so that brought part of the international experience, right? Because having been brought up like that, you really get to know so many different things and so many different people and so many different languages. And one of the things that I really feel is that far back when I left, there was no Facebook or Instagram or anything, because it would be amazing to be able to connect with these people that I met when I was a child and see what happened to them today, right? I did find a few people and a few people found me, but not everybody, obviously. But it's good. It's a good experience. And then working for HSBC, when I did come up with a job in global mobility specifically, I went on a 3-year assignment to New York. So I lived, and it was like a dream come true. I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
When I turned 30, I went for my 30th birthday to New York with my sister. So we went on a girls' trip, just me and my sister. 30
awesome.
In New York, yeah. And we really had fun, and I loved the city, and I loved Broadway, and I loved everything, right? And then I said, you know what? I'm going to live in this city one day. My sister said, obviously you're not. And I said, I am going to live here one day.
Wow.
And so when the opportunity came up, I was working, Mabel Vidal was always with me, right? She's almost like a twin sister in the global mobility world. We were working on the vacancy. She worked at HSBC also. We were working on the vacancy and it came approved, and we decided to see where the HSBC building was in New York. And the HSBC building was simply on 5th Avenue with 40th, which is right in front of the New York Public Library, right? And I was like, I'm sorry, but I have to say it. Shit, I'm going to work there on 5th Avenue. I was like, I can't believe it. It's just so amazing. Awesome. Yeah. So imagine a Brazilian leaving to work on a building on the 5th Avenue, right? It was it was a dream come true. I ended up not living in New York because Manhattan is way too crazy and way too expensive also. So I lived on the other side in New Jersey, just crossing the path there. 12 minutes I was home. It was really, really
Sure.
great. But I really enjoyed it and I really loved it.
Yeah, that PATH train is
Easy.
the best commute in the New York City area. But
Yeah.
that's incredible. You were there and you visualized it and you said, I'm gonna do this. And I love this. I was having a conversation with Janaina the other day,
Mhm.
and it was like, if you tell people your dreams and they don't look at you like you're crazy, then your dreams aren't big enough. And
That's a perfect way of putting it. Yep.
you know what I mean? Like, because I'm sure in the last couple of years, you probably had some conversations and was like, hey, I'm going to do this. Hey, I'm going to do this. And people are like, you can't do that, or you're crazy, or whatever. And it's like, I just love it because you're one of those people that just does things.
No, and even with Brazil Talks, the first time I spoke to some people about putting together a group of hours, everybody was like, no, you can't do it. We don't have enough people. Would never work here in Brazil. And I said, okay, let's see. It is going to work.
Yeah.
So when people start being negative and saying, no, 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 I just sit back and relax and let all the negative energy go away in front of me. Right. Then when I see the positive energy, I sit up again and I say, okay, now it's for me. I'm here.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, some people have to see it to believe it, right? And some people can believe it without seeing it. And so those other people, they just come along later, they just need to wait a little while, and that's okay. They'll get with the program when need be. So that's fantastic. So let me ask you along those lines, though. You were talking about kind of first coming into say, hey, I want to start Brazil Talks, and kind of some people say, oh, maybe we don't have enough people, and maybe there's not enough to talk about, or whatever. And this is something that I've kind of been discovering as I've branched out beyond just the U.S. and started trying to expand my worldview and talking to professionals all over in different continents. What do you think some of the particular challenges are in South America and Brazil, specifically in terms of global mobility and the global mobility industry? What is unique and maybe challenging about that? And maybe what are some of the opportunities?
So I would say this it's even a little bit complex to answer, but I would say one of the main challenges you have if you're not doing intra-Latam is the language, right? And not because of the person that's coming, but because of the people that are here to receive an expat, for example. So if you come, we don't have to go very far. Go to São Paulo in Brazil, right? It's very difficult for you to find a taxi driver, for example, that speaks English, right? It's not common. You have some people that got prepared because of the World Cup, right? So there was a big movement to get all these tourism people prepared to speak English and this and that. You have the signs in some of the streets, like here in Curitiba, where I am from, you have all the signs are bilingual so people know where they're going. But the population itself not very many people speak English, right? So that is one of the challenges, I think, for it. The other one of the big challenges also is currency. So in Latin America in general, currencies are not hard, right? They have a big devaluation. Some people have a big difficulty of understanding that today you have $1 costs 5 reais, and a year and a half after a pandemic, the dollar is almost costing 6. Right, so the amount of the devaluation.
Wow.
How do you explain that? How do you tell people to live with that? Right, and I'm telling you in reais, but you have the difference in the other currencies in the other countries in Latin America also. So I think that is also something that's a big challenge for people to understand. And a positive thing is our intercultural relationship, because we are populations, we are nationalities all through Latam that we have. We come from all over the world. Right, so you have Indian influence, you have European influence, you have North American influence, you have Portuguese, you have Chinese, you have Japanese, you have all the different communities in all the different countries. So it's easy for us. We have one of the features of the Brazilians is easy to adapt. You adapt easily in any place because you basically have lived a little bit with that culture already.
Right, you're already such an intercultural society that
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
One of the things, for example, that I thought was really strange when I moved to New York was people would say, "Where are you from?" And I would say, "I'm Brazilian." "No, but who do you descend from?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." You never get that question here in Brazil. "Where are you from?" "I'm Brazilian." "Okay." That's it. You don't need to say anything else, right?
So in Brazil, even though there's so many so much interculturalism, people don't identify with an ancestry before a nationality prior to arriving in Brazil, is what you're saying?
You
People don't
do.
say I'm German, or they don't say I'm Italian, or they don't say
You
I'm
do, but it's not
African.
that important. It's really not that fundamental for you to say, "Oh yeah, I'm Brazilian and I'm half Portuguese, half Italian." I mean, if you ask me, I'll tell you, but I would never offer you that information. We know
Right.
where we come from. It's important for us. For example, here in the south of Brazil, there is a lot of influence from the Italians and from Europeans. So you do have people like me. You're lighter, you're blonde, you have blue eyes, you have this kind of descendant up here, right? If you go up to the north is where you have most of the Indians, right? Because of the rainforest and everything. So you have a lot of Indian influence over there. If you go to the northeast, you even have Dutch influence there. So you go to the northeast, you have the Afro descendants that came over from Africa, but you also have a little bit of Dutch, right? So it's so varied within Brazil that it is important. We do know where we are, where we're from, but it's not something that you just go around saying, I'm half Portuguese and half Italian. Now, we do have because of everything that's happening in Brazil, the situation everybody knows is not really that good. You do have a lot of people that are asking for a second citizenship, right? So that is happening.
I want to hear more about that because I'm curious. I don't know a lot about LinkedIn user, and I think it's Samdeepta says, "So true. Diverse cultures make us adaptive and comfortable with everyone." Thank you, Samdeepta. But what are you talking about? Dual citizenship, Patricia? Help me understand.
So you have lots of people here in Brazil that do have European descendants, and they are asking, for example, Portuguese descendant or Italian or German. And why is that? Because if you have a dual citizenship, you can go work in the other countries, right? So you can leave Brazil and go work in the other countries. And then obviously the situation in Italy or in German are stable, more stable than Brazil, and you can get along better than you are in Brazil. Brazil is really tough to work in lately. It's a complicated country, unfortunately, because it's such a rich country. It has absolutely everything. And I love my country. I love it, right? You have from the rainforest to the beautiful beaches in the northeast. You have all the rivers and everything where people can fish and do all the tourism they want to do. You have the big cities like São Paulo, like Rio, like Belo Horizonte, like Porto Alegre, like Brasilia, which is the capital. You have so much there. You have falls here in it's, I don't know, 800 kilometers here from the city I'm in. Beautiful falls, just like Niagara Falls, the Iguazu Falls. I actually think Iguazu are more beautiful. But, right? So it's a rich country. We just don't have the right governments at certain point in times, right? Let's not get into politics because then people might get mad at me.
Not on this show. It's your politics. You say whatever you want. Janaina's, supporting that. She also says people only ask me about my last name because I'm black with a Polish last name, and people think it's weird. That's the only why. That's the only reason why. Oh, Janaina, that's great. Chris Roberts says, "I love your attitude about dreaming."
Thanks, Chris.
Rodrigo says, "Hello from Colombia. You are doing amazing work."
Ay, gracias, Rodri. Beso.
That's awesome. That's great. That's great. Sandeepta is going to check out the YouTube. She'd love to hear all of the global mobility masters. Very cool. One of the things that came up when I was talking, when Janaina and I were doing the Love and Relo in Latam, and I still remember the first day we had Mariana Barros on Monday.
Oh, she's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's like way too smart for me. She came on and right away she's like, "Well, Brazil's not part of Latam." And like literally the entire week just blew up right there. I was like, "Well, I have like 3 Brazilian guests this week and my co-host is Brazilian. Nobody bothered to tell me that Brazil's not part of Latam." And so she educated me on that really quickly, and I felt so ignorant. But anyway, that was part of my learning curve. But one of the things that came up, as I was talking to our guests, whether, Fernando or some of the corporate folks, Sylvia Rivas, and we just had some great ones. And one of the things, though, that came up was the scale of mobility in South America is smaller. It's smaller. And it feels also to me like, my observation, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that a lot of the decisions about mobility are in South America or in Brazil are made outside of the country and the continent. Often, or managed or made outside of the country and the continent. And I think that seems to me to be an opportunity to bring some of those decisions to the country and have those decisions be made in country for assignees who are going to be there, and for supplier relationships that are there. What are your thoughts on that?
So I would say that most of the decisions, yes, are taken out of the country because normally Brazil is a hub. You're not the headquarters, right? And with this globalization, most of the vendors, for example, are global vendors, right? Or most of the processes are global processes. So I think that would be one of the reasons why most of the decisions are taken out. What we are seeing now are companies that are Brazilian or Latin American, that are being the headquarters, and there you can see that the decisions are taken here and are not taken in other countries, because I think it really depends on where it's headquartered, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I would say is we must always be at a table to take a decision when you're taking a global decision, because Latin America does have many nuances. We are particular in very many things in different countries, each one having its own difference. But we have to make it clear, right, of difficulties. For example, if you're in an RFP process and you work with a region that is not that common, or let's say you work with Cuba, with an embargoed country, right? Cuba has lots of things there. People don't really know everything that's there, but you have lots of things there. So we have to raise our hand and we have to say, can you work in Cuba? No, I can't because I'm an American based. Okay, give me an opportunity or give me a chance to find another vendor then that will be able to work in Cuba, right? So these small kind of things, you have to be aware and you have to be there to make sure that everybody's aware, because it's so different. Distance, let's talk distance, right? You jump on a train and you go from London to Paris in I don't know how many hours, but a few hours under a river and you're there, right? Most of the countries here in Latin America don't have trains that do those kind of transportation. Right? And if you're going to fly from Sao Paulo to Buenos Aires, right, it's a 3-hour flight. If you go from Sao Paulo to Mexico, it's a 9-hour flight. It's not something that you can just say, I'm going in the morning, coming back in the afternoon. No, you won't do that. Right. Yeah. So I think that's also something that's a big challenge here in Latin America.
Yeah, no, I think those are great. I think those are great points, and I love the Cuba example, right? And even if it's not an embargoed country, but a country that has a lot of nuance or might be difficult to work in, I can't help but think that that's where global mobility is heading, is to having experts in-house or vendors who understand how to do business in these places. We have employees that seem to want to be working in so many places. We seem to have a trend where we are moving jobs to people instead of people to jobs, and creating these kind of these hubs around the world. But with that comes, I mean, it's not that simple. It's not as simple as saying the cost of living is so much lower over here, or the rate of pay is so much lower, or the currency is so favorable, we're just going to open up over here. I mean, there's so much nuance, we'll call it. It could be bureaucratic red tape, it could be laws, it could be compliance, it could be immigration, it could be tax, it could be whatever. It could be the relationship between the two countries, like Cuba and the United States, or Cuba and other countries, right? And I can't help but think that the knowledge of the people on the ground there is going to become more and more critical as we try to do more and more of this. So I think that Latam and Brazil are both primed to continue kind of elevating maybe the status, and I look towards what you're doing as being so important in that with Brazil talks and Latam talks.
So that's one of the things that K2 found out, right? We need to have somebody in the Latam region, because we are working with clients that are growing in the Latam region, and we need to have somebody on the ground, You need to understand. So that's an amazing understanding, I think, from K2 to say, yeah, we do have our office in the US, but I do need somebody there, right? So let's get somebody there on the ground, and let's see if we can make the other countries understand the need of having the local knowledge, right? So what do you do different in Brazil that you don't do in Argentina, that you may do in Colombia, and that you definitely don't do in Mexico, right?
No, yeah,
We
extremely
can tell
well
that.
said.
We can share that with you, so we can let you know.
Yeah, well said. And there's very few RMCs that actually have offices in the region, right? And I think that commitment is going to be a great investment. So that's really exciting. Sandeep said, well said, Patricia. Our country needs social workers to politicians.
Yep.
Valerie has a question for you. This came up earlier, actually. Patricia, are you on Clubhouse?
I am, Valerie. I am on Clubhouse, and we actually have a mobility group here in Portuguese, obviously, every Tuesday at 6 p.m. where we discuss, we always try to bring somebody to interview, but we discuss everything that's happening in mobility and changes and different ideas. And it's a clubhouse, right? So you can say whatever you want there, right? But it's led by Janine, which is from KPMG, and Paola, which is from John Richardson Furniture Rental. So,
nice.
Yeah,
nice. I didn't know that. Glad I asked that question.
Yeah, I didn't have time to tell you that also.
You're doing so much, it's hard to keep up with you. Seriously.
Yeah, and then I'm supposed to be retired. Remember that? I was going to stop working in December 2020.
You know what?
It's a joke. When I'm saying I'm retiring here at home, everybody laughs. Nobody believes in me.
You can't slow you down, Patricia. All right?
I don't want to be slowed down yet.
I know. It doesn't sound very fun.
Yeah.
Julio says Patricia is the best.
Yeah.
This is great.
Julio's
This is
a good
great. We got
friend.
Ray Abbott checking in. We got time probably for one or two more questions max. But while people think about those questions, if they want to ask them, I have a question for you. You work with people. You help people so much. You mentor people. I mean, I put a post on LinkedIn today about mentorship. Mentorship seems to be the theme of the last couple of months. It just pops up more and more and more. And I'm fascinated with why it seems to be popping up. But what has been your kind of experience with mentorship? What are you doing with mentorship?
So I had very good experience with a mentor that I had when I joined HSBC back in 1997, right? And he was an amazing person. He is my mentor until today. Every once in a while, I do meet him, and he wants to know what I'm doing and what's happening and how I'm going and everything. And I really learned a lot with him, right? And he was one of the people that told me, "You are so strong, you don't see how strong you are. So never lose that," he said. Never lose that, and put that in front of your mind that you can do what you say you're going to do because it's the way you are. And I took that for my life, and I said, one of the things that I want to do is to be able to tell my mentorees something like that, which will be a legacy that they will take for the rest of their lives, right? So I started helping. And the other thing I like to do is I always like helping people. So everybody that comes to me, I find a way of helping, right? Telling you something, sharing, connecting, whatever it is, I'll do something to help you. So when people started coming to me asking for mentorship, I was like, no, I don't know. I might do it or I might not do it. And when I was in New York, I took a course with to learn how to be a coach, right? But to me, the difference between being a coach and being a mentor is the coach tells you what to do and the mentor makes you think what you really want to do. And I think that is so much more interesting because it's you saying what you want to do. It's you understanding where you want to get, and not somebody telling you, okay, now do this, or go that way, or try to do it this way so that you can reach what you want. No, it's you having to find out which way you're going to go. So I like working with that. And then I decided I narrowed down a little bit actually, because I was getting too many people asking me for help and I wasn't managing, right? So I narrowed down to young women that want to be leaders in the future. They want to lead. They want to be something more than what they are today, right? So I work normally with 3 or 4 people. It's a 5-session program that I developed where we work what you're doing, where you are today, what would you like to do totally out of the box. Then they come to a decision where they want to stay, and we try to put together an implementation plan and then a follow-up just to see how it's working. So it's not
Wow.
something that's going to change your life from one day to the other, but it is going to set you thinking, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I like
Seems
to
like
say
a personal strategy you give them, like you help them develop a strategy for them.
a strategy, exactly. So I always tell them in the first session, you have a backpack here, a small backpack that has all your feelings and everything you went through is in that backpack. And during these sessions, we have to open it and take things out and say, okay, this was worth it. This wasn't. This I want to do. This I don't want to do. So sometimes it's tough. It gets a little bit emotional and everything, but it really brings you out and makes you think what you want to do for your life. So I've had people come to me and say, I want to do mentorship because I really don't want to work anymore with what I'm doing. And when they leave, they're like, oh my God, why did I even think of leaving? Because this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I've had people coming and saying, I want to be an engineer, and then leaving, going to, I don't know, teach classes in a gym, just being radical here, right? Totally different. Because when they're thinking out of the box, they saw that thinking out of the box was more important than what they were actually doing. And so people are happier because they're doing more and what they want. And if you love what you do, like you love what you do, and like I love what you do, we're happy people, Ben, because we love it. Love and real.
Fulfillment. 100% fulfillment. I mean, it's self-actualization on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Self-actualization when you love what you do and you're good at it. I mean, that's the best. Now, let me ask you though, what advice would you give to mentors though? Because I think there's a lot of people out there who want to be mentors, don't really know how to do it. Like, they're helpful people, they're nice people, they're good people, but they don't really know how to do it. And so, like, you came up with this 5-step plan. I mean, that's pretty neat. I've never heard of that before. What advice would you give?
So one, I would say, watch out what you're doing, because you're dealing with people's future, right? So you have to be very sure of what you're doing. You can't just start working with somebody for the fun of it, right? The person depends on you. So you have to make sure what you're doing. Two is
a lot of pressure. I feel like I skipped that step every time. I'm like, oh wait, I got to be sure.
But it is, man. If you want to help. But if you want to be a mentor, it has to be a different way. It's like being a volunteer, right? So you want to volunteer in something you're doing. Okay, fine, volunteer. But if you take up the commitment of being a volunteer, then you can't miss it out, right? So thinking here, for example, if you go to a children's place where you have children that were, let's say, abandoned, right? And you say, I'm going to be a volunteer, and I'm going to come every Friday afternoon here, and I'm going to play with the children. You have to go every Friday afternoon. Right. You can't just say, today's raining, I'm not going. No, I know, today's too cold, I'm not going to go. Because the children are there waiting for you. So if you're going to volunteer,
it breaks my heart just thinking about an orphanage.
Right, but if you want to be a volunteer, you're a volunteer up until the moment you say you're being a volunteer. Because once you are, then you have to take up the commitment, right? So with mentorship, I see it more or less like that. Because if you say you're going to help somebody, you're going to have to give a light to that person. But at the same time, you can't tell the person what you do, because the person has to find out on her own. Yeah. So they have to come out with it. That's why I put the 5 steps together.
And then I want to flip that, right? Because I think there's a lot of people out there that are looking for guidance. I mean, I think there's probably 3 reasons that I can think of, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. 3 reasons that I can think of why mentorship is in such high demand right now. One, there's so much change going on around us. So people, what happens when change happens? You start looking around like, oh gosh, what do I do, right? Another is the fact that whether you were displaced, took a pay cut, whatever during the last year and change, most people are looking for either started a new job or they're looking for a new job. So they're looking for skills and networks and things like that. Why do you see mentorship being so in demand right now, and what can mentees do to prepare themselves?
I see that the great need for mentors now is a big doubt, a cloud of doubts that exists of, am I doing what I really like, right? Or am I here because I'm getting well paid? Or am I here because I lost my job that I liked and I'm doing what came up? So I think that's one of the reasons why people are really trying to find themselves to be able to do what they like. I also see that this younger generation today, they go more towards their purpose than my generation did, for example, right? So they don't mind changing jobs to get a little bit less if they're going to be happier in that job, right? To get paid a little bit less if they're going to be happier in that job, because then they see that if they're happier in that job, they can have a career and get to where they want to get. So I think that's one of the reasons they're looking for help to try to understand what exactly do they want to do. I would say that.
Yeah. Well, and they almost expect to have purpose in their job too, right? Like before,
Yeah,
I think people were like,
definitely.
I'm getting a paycheck. That's all I can expect.
Mhm.
And now it's like, no, I want to do something as purpose. I want to be at the tip of the pyramid. I want to love what I do, right?
Exactly. And the good thing about this young generation also is that they don't stay too long if they don't really love what they do. And that's when
That's right.
they come after the mentorship, because they're there. They're in the company. They're doing well. They do have progress within the company, but it's not what they really like to do. And they say, I need help to find out what I really like to do.
So what can mentees do to prepare themselves? I mean, it's a very much a two-way relationship. People say they want to be mentored, but how do they really need to prepare themselves and conduct themselves in order to be
Number
mentored?
one, open your heart.
Mm,
If you want to be a mentee, you have to open your heart. You have to be ready to hear what you're going to hear, because it might not be exactly what you're expecting,
yeah.
but it is something that you have to be. So open your heart, right? And two, communicate. It has to be a two-way communication, because if only the mentor is talking and saying and this and that, and there's no response from that other side, it won't work. There has to be a communication between both of them. So one, open your heart, and two, prepare to communicate. It's hard to communicate
And
when you're touching your backpack and you're taking things out that you really didn't want to talk about, and you have to talk about it. So
yeah, and I think the other one too is actually using the guidance that you're given. I've been so fortunate in my career to have people who have helped me and wanted to help me. And I mean, you're one of those people. There's a bunch of people in the comments who are those people, as well. And I sometimes wonder to myself, how did I get so blessed? Like, why was I so fortunate to have these amazing people just kind of pour themselves into me? And I look back on our interactions, and I think that they got a lot out of them too. And I think that one of the things that they got out of them was that I would actually go and implement what they told me to do. I'd come back to them and say, "Hey, Tim, thanks so much. That really worked." Or, "Hey, Terry, thanks so much. I've been thinking about this. I did it, and I wanted you to know this is what happened, and thank you." And so then they got the gratification, and so then they wanted to keep giving because they were receiving at the same
mhm,
time.
and also the other thing is that, for example, Tim or Terry might have told you, go this way, do this or that, and you thought it out, but you didn't do exactly what they told you because you put your personal touch to it. So that's also important. You have to have your personal touch. Do what the guidance, right? Because like you said, no use doing 5, 10, 15 sessions if you're not going to change. You have to be open to changes, right? So do that, but put your personal touch to it. And going back and giving feedback is just amazing. Really, really good. I was just talking
Yeah.
to Vanessa this morning exactly about it. And I said, I feed out of the success of the people that I helped, right? So to see people that I helped and people that actually did the mentorship with me and today are just a bigger success, for me is amazing, because I know that I have a little part in that success. And it's so
Yeah.
good. It's gratifying to see that.
Yeah. That is
Mhm.
so gratifying.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a lot of fun, and I want to thank all of the questions, but we have a game. We got a lot of people watching here. We're going to have a little game. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the show in a while, but we've been doing this top 5 thing. Patricia, do you have a top 5 today for me?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And when you
Okay.
come to Brazil, things that you have
Yes.
to do.
I cannot wait to go visit Brazil. Let me tell you, you know how you had that New York dream? When
Uh-huh.
when you had that New York dream, I lived in New York, and I had a dream about going to Brazil for Carnival. I
Really?
went I when I was 16 years old, I went to New Orleans for Mardi Gras.
Uh-huh.
Me, my cousin Chris, my late uncle Dwayne, who actually passed away in Brazil. Actually, he was a pipe. He
Oh,
dug pipes and tunnels and stuff like that. Anyway,
oh
sorry,
wow.
bummer, right? Anyway, point being that didn't mean to be a bummer. The point is, I had an amazing time in my life. I got back from that, and I'm like, Chris, we got to go back to New Orleans next year for Mardi Gras. He's like, Ben, I got one better for you. We got to go to Carnival in Rio. And I'm like, yes, that's where. So when I was 16, I was like, Mom, hey, good news. I'm alive. Even better news, I'm going to Rio for Carnival next year. And she's like, no, you're not. And so that was as close as I got to Brazil.
No, but now you have to come, because now you've got lots of things to do here, because I put here on the list. So the top 5. Fifth.
Let me do it. Number 5. What's number 5?
Number 5 is you have to go to Iguaçu Falls. Right?
Iguaçu Falls.
Yeah. Remember I told you that we have the falls here. It's about 800 kilometers here from my city, from Curitiba. They're nicer than Niagara Falls. Sorry to say this, but because they're bigger than the Niagara Falls. So amazing. And also you can see it from the Argentinian side, or you can see it from the Brazilian side. So, and we Brazilians like to say that it's nice to see from the Argentinian side because you see Brazil. So it's better.
Oh, because you see Brazil. It's nicer from the Argentina because you see Brazil.
You see Brazil. Right?
I love the little I love the little beef you guys have with Argentina, by the way. I love this little Argentina Brazil beef that goes on.
But I'll tell you something. I love Argentina. I love going to Buenos Aires. I'm skiing there and everything. I love Argentina. It's really, really nice.
Yeah. I know how you really feel. Anyway, Janaina's laughing right now. This is great.
Yeah.
So much fun. All right, number 4.
Feijoada with caipirinha. You have to have one. Feijoada is the main dish in Brazil with the black beans and all of the meats and everything inside. And you have to have a feijoada on a Saturday afternoon or Saturday lunchtime in one of the bars where you have samba, live people playing samba. And you're just drinking caipirinha and you're eating and drinking. And when you see, you're going to be standing up and dancing with the guy that's singing, the girl, whoever it is.
I mean, I'll dance with anybody for some feijoada. Hey, so what is a feijoada?
So a feijoada is a black beans is very big and very strong here in Brazil, right? Okay. Everybody has rice and beans at lunch, and mostly the black beans. Here in the South, mostly black. In the other regions, you have other colors also.
That's why y'all need a cafezinho, because you're carb loading at lunchtime. You're eating rice and beans for lunch.
We don't have feijoada during the week, right? Okay, there's some restaurants that serve feijoada on Wednesdays, which is also a tradition. But the big tradition is to have it on a Saturday with the caipirinha, with the live samba and everything. And I'm going to take you because I want to see you dance.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to put it on LinkedIn.
It's all right. Jeez. Oh, my gosh. This is great. This is getting better and better. This is wonderful. All right. Let's see here. People are saying that sounds interesting. Ray Abbott talking about the great soccer rivalry between Brazil and Argentina. That's fantastic.
Yeah. That's always here.
Number 3. I can't wait. This is great.
Okay. Number 3, you have to come visit me. Remember, I don't live in São Paulo. You have to come to Curitiba. So as you're going to Iguaçu Falls, you just come a little bit down and you can come to Curitiba to be with me. Then we'll go for the feijoada.
Yes.
I've got the whole plan already. It's all planned out already. We go for the feijoada.
So what is Curitiba like? What is it like? Like, what is your city like?
Curitiba is, it's amazing. It's one of the cities that works the best in Brazil because it's got all the European influence, right? So it really works. It's a clean city. It's an example in recycling. It's very sustainable. It's got everything. Janaina's from Curitiba also, so she's going to understand me.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, I'll definitely have to get on that. Okay.
Okay.
Fantastic. Can't wait. Sounds amazing. Let's do it. Number 2.
Number 2, São Paulo. Obviously, you have to go because when you come, you're going to have to work a little bit, right? Because you're going to have to find a reason to come, right?
A little bleisure.
So
saying Curitiba rocks.
Because she's from here also, Nice. So São Paulo is a big city. São Paulo it's a metropolis, right? So you have all the big banks, you have all the big companies, the big neighborhoods with the tall high rises, and then you have the residential places. Lots of money in the city, lots and lots of money because it's the financial heart of Brazil. So you have to be there also. But
this is where I'll do my Love and Relo interviews. I'll do a couple Love and Relos. Maybe I'll visit a Brazil Talks session or something. We'll do,
definitely.
Okay. All right.
No, you have to come when we have a Brazil Talks. If not, it's not going to work.
When do you think the next in-person Brazil Talks might be?
I was hoping for something this year, but I definitely don't think so. I think maybe next year. I don't know. I was hoping for something this year, but not sure.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And then number
1.
Rio. You have to go to Rio. You can't go to see the Carnival. right? But even if you don't
Yes.
go to the Carnival, there's so many other things there are in Rio. My opinion, Rio is the most beautiful city of Brazil. So you really have to
Wow.
go and see it. It's a pity it's a
Wow.
dangerous city, but it is the most beautiful one. When you fly over like that and you see the sea and you see there's a lagoon in the middle and you see the Christ Redeemer and everything, it's beautiful, amazing.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So maybe I fly into Rio and then I kind of do the and then because Rio is Rio north of Sao Paulo or no Sao Paulo?
North of São Paulo, yeah.
It is. So I kind of come down, then I come down and I go all the way down to Curitiba. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, we got to work on this.
I
Listen,
live where everyone goes on vacation. That's where Janaína lives today. Yeah.
yeah, look at that. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So is it okay to go during Carnival or is that pushing it?
No, it's okay. You have to watch out, right? You have to be guided. You can't walk around by yourself because you never know what's going to happen. You have to be guided there, but it's okay. Yeah, there are lots of tourists that come during the Carnival.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We might have to have an offline
Well,
conversation
we'll
about it.
organize
That's
everything
been
for
a
you. Don't
dream.
worry.
Yeah, that's been a dream of mine is to do Carnival in Rio. So,
Hmm.
wow, I'm excited about this. The feijoada and the Carnival and the samba and
Yeah.
Curitiba, and this is going to be great. This is going to be great. Um, Patricia, it is so awesome to talk to you. I always get so excited whenever I talk to you. People are loving the energy here. This is great. Do you want to give us maybe leave us with a final thought or final word?
I want to leave everybody with a positive message if possible. I think we are in a situation at the moment that is a little bit negative. Third wave, second wave, vaccine, no vaccine. There is a vaccine, but I don't want to take it. So many different things. And when you go on the news, that's all you hear and that's all you see, numbers, numbers, numbers. I think we have to give a positive tone to it. So many good things happened during the pandemic, right? Brazil Talks came up. So many people changed jobs, right? Not only me, but lots of other people changed jobs also with new opportunities, with new things that they could find out. So many people found out what they really wanted to do. Look at you, Ben. You changed completely also, right? I didn't even get to ask you the question because you didn't stop asking me. But you changed, and that's the next session. We, we have to get you on Brazil Talks again.
I like it.
Right. So you changed also. Look at how many good things happened during
Right.
2020 and the beginning now with 2021. So I think I would like to say, let's keep the good energy. Let's look at the positive side of everything that happened. And yes, we have to see the negative things that are happening, but look at it and turn the page and keep sight only on the good things and the positive things. I think that helps us see the light that's there, maybe a little bit farther down the tunnel, but it is there. So let's look at that and let's follow that light because I think that will bring us a lot more energy.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Well said, Patricia. I agree with you 100%. There's obviously a tough year, but it's made way for a lot of really beautiful things to come about, and I think that's what we have to focus on. Well said, Patricia. It's been such a blessing and an honor to be here with you today. Thank you for being here and sharing your insight and your experience and your wonderful adventure and journey with us. I so appreciate it, my friend.
No, thank you, Ben, for the invite. It's always really nice to be here. And for me, it feels just like a conversation. I think we just talk a little bit too much when we're
Yeah.
together, which is always what happens when we set our meetings, right? We set 30 minutes and talk an hour and a half. So,
Exactly, exactly,
yeah.
exactly. That's why this is so much fun. And thank you to everybody that tuned in today. Thank you for all the questions and the comments.
And then
They
the
were
comments. Yeah.
beautiful. People were digging it. Look at Ray says great show, and people are thanking us for the positive vibes. And this is just wonderful. Janaine is already planning for Carnival. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Fernando said, "Don't be guided by me. No problem, Fer.
No,
No
Fernando has too
problem."
many caipirinhas. You can't.
I can't keep up with him.
Yeah.
You see him jogging on the Instagram? Oh my goodness, this guy's in
I
great shape.
know. He
Oh
does. Yeah.
goodness. This has been
Yeah.
wonderful. I can't wait to see you in Brazil soon. Hopefully, Patricia.
Thank you. And people, if you can, do go on Brazil Talks and check out our site. I think you're going to like it. And anything I can help you with, just feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. No problem at all. Or Ben knows where to find me also. So I'm here.
Yep. Definitely do it. Check out the
Okay.
links in the comments there. And everybody have a wonderful, we're not on Friday, so everybody have a wonderful weekend. Take care.